Can you see me? Can you see my screen and can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
recording has
perfect.
started and we can see and hear you. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much for this introduction. And hello, everyone. So I'm Carla Havermans, and as Dietrich said, I founded Diversify at Work and a Divergent Design. And I love the fact that I can help neurodivergent people find a life that fits them better and to also make the workplace a more inclusive space for everyone. Uh, so that all of our talents, get the best as they can. So let's get started for today. So this is like a little table of contents. First of all, we will talk a little bit about terminology and context, so that we know that you also know like the words I use, that what they mean, of course. Then we will talk about neurodivergent talents. And in the end, we will talk about creating a neuro-inclusive space. And then after that, there's also space for a Q&A. If some things are very unclear during the training, or you really want to like say something extra, you can put it in the chat. Daphne and Dietrich will moderate it, and then I can answer your question. I also want to say, there's extra info and resources when you scan the QR code behind me. I want to say sorry because most of it is still in Dutch, but everything I do, giving trainings and giving coaching, is also available in English. We are still working on translating our website and everything, but that will be there soon. Okay, let's get started. Yes. What means neurodiversity? It's actually a term introduced by Judy Singer in 1979 something. And she introduced it because she wanted to make sure that we realize that all brains have some talents, and that all brains are different, and that is okay. Differences here are not viewed as deficits, but as also as talents, and all these kind of things. The word neurodiversity and neurodivergence is often mixed up, but neurodiversity is actually the whole group of people. Everyone has a brain, and we all have a diverse brain. Um, and then the neurodivergent group of people are actually the people who have a brain that is very different from the norm. Um, Not an average brain, as we could say. And then the other group is the group of neurotypical people. That's actually like the average person. Of course, there's also differences in there, but with a non-neurodivergent brain, we call them neurotypical people. Um, Neurodivergence is actually a non-medical term. It is a word for people with a brain that works differently, so different strengths and different difficulties. Um, it's not like a closed list. Um, these are like the diagnosis that I will talk about today. Because I have ADHD, autism, and giftedness myself. So I know the most about that because I live that every day. And then high sensitivity is more like a group of things in my character that's also going together with the ADHD, the autism, and the giftedness. And then dyscalculia and dyslexia, I know quite some things about it, but I don't have them myself. Um, I don't tick all the neurodivergent boxes. But important is that also a lot of other things can be part of the group of neurodivergent people, like people with borderline or like La Tourette. I hope I say all these things correctly because they're not like part of my expertise, but also those can be part of like the neurodivergent umbrella term. But we will not talk about it in this talk. So, actually, 1 in 5 people, or 20% of the world, has a neurodivergent brain. So the people with ADHD, autism, all these things make up 1/5 of society, which is actually quite a big group. Um, and it always startles me why we don't talk about it more, because it's not just like 1 in 1,000 people with like a different brain. And even then, we should talk about it, by the way. But it means that 80% of the people has like a neurotypical brain. And our society is actually made by and for mainly the neurotypical people. And that is also why it is different in this world to have a neurodivergent brain, and why we often know more what goes difficult for us than what are like the good and the easy things for us, because this society is just not made for our brain. I'm going to give an example. An example is the way we structure our work life. Like a full-time job is like 5 days a week, working 9 to 5 behind often a computer and stuff like that. For me, that would never work because my brain runs in sprints, but I cannot sit behind the desk like the whole day. I will never be able to focus. So for me, working in a 9 to 5 job for someone else is like super hard. And I cannot really, like, I just get burnt out, bored out all at the same time, and I cannot function. So that's why I started actually my own, yeah, companies. And I love that because now I can work with my brain instead of against it. We will learn a little bit about that later. Then yeah, we get well-intentioned help. People tell us like, yeah, just sit still in the meeting, just like try to fit in the box, as you see. um Try to put on a mask and just act like you're normal between brackets. But that often does not work and just makes people super tired and super burnt out, and in that way they often cannot use their talents and just not be happy. So even though it's often well-intentioned help, it's important to relearn how your neurodivergent brain works, and to create yeah, a life that helps you work with it instead of against it. Then yeah, understanding each other as like a neurodivergent and a neurotypical person is actually like learning each other's language. One language is as good as the other, it's just a different one. And if it's hard, like functioning in this society, you can imagine that everything is just written in a language that is not yours, and it's hard to translate it. And that is also why we often, yeah, have difficulties going through life, because we speak another language. So it's important that we also teach people our language as neurodivergent people, and then we also like ask others like to explain their neurotypical language to us, so that we can like work in a more balanced way. So yeah, if you want to know the challenges of ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and so on, um, the internet is full of it. If you go for a diagnosis yourself, they mostly focus on what you cannot do. So, for example, when I got my ADHD diagnosis, I heard like, yeah, you cannot sit still. It's hard for you not to talk. You cannot focus. It will be hard for you in life. And I just thought that I was like a person with less talent than anyone else because I have this ADHD and it takes a part of me away, something like that. But then over the time, I realized that it also gives me certain talents. And I also just made my job out of talking because I like talking. I like talking about neurodiversity. So now it's my job and I can use it as a talent instead of, yeah, like something that is just hard. So the internet is full of it, but we will not focus on it today, even though it has challenges. And I know I feel them every day, but there's also a lot of talents. So, neurodivergent talents. Some of the talents that we often see in neurodivergent people are hyperfocus, creativity, honesty, and innovation. I'm going to explain a little bit with all of these words. What do we mean by hyper focus? It's actually like an extreme focus on something. Often we think that people with ADHD, for example, don't have focus at all, that they cannot focus, but that's not entirely true. They will not be able to focus on boring things, things they don't like, when the deadline is really far away. But for example, for me, when I have a deadline nearby, I can do so much on such a short time. That's my hyper focus zone. And then I forget to eat, forget to drink sometimes because I'm so much in what I'm doing at that moment. So that is for ADHD, but also, of course, for autism and a lot of other neurodivergent, kind of brains. Um, in autism, it's often way more known. Like the cliche one is someone with autism who really loves trains. That's a very cliche one, but it exists. My brother is someone like that. He drives a train now. For me, the hyper focus, for example, is neurodiversity. Then the creative part is also something we see in neurodivergent brains. And when we think about creativity, we often think, yeah, it's about painting or making music or like drawing or some things like that. But creativity is way more than that. It's also finding like creative solutions to a problem. And that can be in all kinds of ways. So you don't have to draw or sing songs to be creative. Then honesty is often also a talent of neurodivergent people, not always appreciated, by the way. But if you want honest feedback, it is often provided by neurodivergent people. Then innovation, the thinking outside of the box makes that we think about things in different ways, and that we're also often scientists who discover new things, or we are pioneers in certain areas. So that's also a very beautiful thing. Um, I have here like the different diagnosis with some of the talents that often are part of it. Not always, by the way. I'm not going to focus too long on it because we have such a short time today here. But these are a few of the things that we see often in ADHD. These are a few of the things we often see in autism. Then we have giftedness. These are some of the talents there. For giftedness, I want to say something else. Like often, giftedness is just seen as something very nice and easy. Like, oh, you're smart. That's nice. You can do whatever you want. But giftedness also has a lot of hard things in our society. Like gifted people are often very critical to themselves, often very perfectionist. Sometimes they think of so many possibilities that they just freeze. That's something I experience a lot myself as well. Um, Gifted people are also like very righteous. They want everything to be fair and honest, and but that's sometimes very hard, like to be in this world and to see everything that's not right. So it has a lot of talent, but with giftedness, we sometimes forget the difficulties around it. And that's also really part of it. Then dyslexia. This is one that is often seen in school, like, oh, this kid cannot like write a proper text, or they're very slow readers. And often they are pointed out at being like a dumb person. But they are often super smart, like in their own ways, good at analyzing complex systems, 3D thinking, spatial awareness. But in our society, written text is so important. Even when you look for a job, for example, they will ask you for a motivation letter, even though maybe writing is not even part of the job. So I think it's important to see these kind of talents and to measure them in a way that these people will, for example, use it in the job. Like if you want to see someone analyzing something complex, maybe ask them to make an exercise around that and not to like write a motivation letter for the job, for example. And then dyscalculia has also like, those people are often very good strategic thinkers, problem solvers, very creative people often. I want to say so much more about this, by the way, but I have to keep it a bit short and on time. But if you have extra questions in the end, you can, of course, ask them. So we want to create a neuro-inclusive space. And how can we do that? Also, this is a very big one. I have put it in a few slides here, but of course, we will need way more of this. A very important one is clear communication. Of course, that is something for everyone, but with neurodiversity, it is often even more important. I'm just gonna give an example for people at work. Something I struggled with when I started doing my first job for someone else is that I tend to be very last minute with my deadlines. And at university, it always worked out for me because in the end, when I handed it in, I was on time, even though it was like 10 minutes before the deadline, in the best case. So I thought, like, yeah, it's fine to be so last minute. It always stressed me out, but I managed. So that was fine. But then I was at the work floor, I had colleagues, and we had projects together. And when they told me like the deadline is Friday afternoon at 5, I would do like the last things Friday afternoon at 4, probably. But my colleagues were not always happy about that. And I had to learn to ask for clear deadlines in between. Like, when do you need this from me? And I learned to communicate about that. But if you see that one of your colleagues, for example, is always kind of late and they forget that you also still have to work on it, tell them, and tell them what your expectation is, um, about like a deadline, for example. But also when you have, for example, a meeting at work, like, make like a clear agenda, communicate expectations. Is this session, is it like a brainstorm session, or do we want to decide between two possible outcomes? What is the expectation from today? Um, then often neurodivergent people, especially the ones with autism, um, they often suffer from like a lot of stimuli, like a lot of sound, a lot of lights, a lot of stuff going on, busy places. For me, for example, I also am very sensitive to smells, and people often forget about that. So sometimes I'm, for example, in the train and a person next to me has like this very heavy perfume on. And for me, that's super overwhelming. And I might get migraines from it. So I need to go to another place in the train. That's not always possible. So also those are stimulus, and it is important to be aware of it. Um, yeah, of course, there's a lot of things we can use nowadays, like the headphones, like noise canceling headphones, like earplugs, loops, all these kind of things that also might help, of course. Um, then, yeah, respect is a basic one, I think, and it goes like in all the directions. We need to learn each other's languages. Um, and yeah, respect is a very important one for that. Um, Psychological safety. This is, for example, an important one at the work floor, that if you tell someone about what you're suffering from, or what you find hard, or then it's important that you can tell that to someone without like being scared of losing your job or something, like that you are safe in that place. And then a very important one is also like giving each other compliments. Because for me, for example, as a neurodivergent person in this world, I often heard what I did wrong. Like, I couldn't shut up in class, I was not able to sit still, and all these things. But yeah, people don't often give me like compliments about what I was doing good. So I didn't learn what were my talents. And it's actually by giving each other compliments that you can point out the talents of someone else. So that's an important one. And If you want to know more about neuro-inclusion at work, you can go to my website, Diversify at Work, and there you can find a lot of information about neurodivergence at the work floor, about the trainings I give and stuff. And if you want to fill in the free inclusion scan about neurodiversity at work, you can get a free report about it. Just scan the QR code on the slide. I put the inclusion scan in English, so this one is fine for the English-speaking people. So please check it out. It's for free, and you might learn quite a bit about neurodivergence at work. Then a slide about if you are a neurodivergent person yourself, it's important to communicate your needs. Be open about it. It's often hard, of course, I get it. But by explaining what you need, you might make your life way easier. For example, my friends and my partner, they know when I go out to a busy place that I might get overwhelmed, and sometimes I get panic attacks. So I tell them right before, like, yeah, if you see me starting to hum, or you see that I'm like avoiding eye contact and I go like more inwards, then you know that I might get a panic attack. Then it's important that you take me out of the crowd, like ask me if I need something. So I kind of gave them like these scripts that they can use when they see it's getting hard for me. And at first it was hard to find this script for myself, but I learned to communicate what I need, and it makes life way easier. And people also understand when you are acting weird that you're still trying, but that it's just not your moment. Then embrace your own unique talents. It's important to learn to find them. Ask people like your family or your friends, ask them, what do you think I'm good at? Often the things that go very, very easy for you are just your talents. And I often thought like, oh, but writing like a very long text or like giving a presentation, everyone can do it, but apparently not. And apparently those were my talents. And I thought that's easy. Why would someone listen to me giving a presentation? Like it's so easy what I say. Like, and then I heard that people were enthusiastic about it, and I was like, maybe this is my talent. So find them for yourself. Ask people about it. Learn about what you like. What did you like as a child? So in this way, you can find your talents. It's also important not to be too hard on yourself and to not measure yourself by neurotypical standards, but just find what, I always try to, when I want to measure my growth as a person, I'm not measuring with other people, but I'm measuring with myself in the past. And in that way, I'm way more kind for myself. And then create a life that fits your brain, because there's so much that you can do to create a life that fits you better. If you want to know more about that, I have uh, my divergent life traject. I'm sorry, it's in Dutch again. But if I have enough English speaking people, I will also organize one in English. If you want to have more information about that, please scan the QR code. And you also get a personal discount code that's only available if you fill it in right now. We will start with a new group on the 5th of July in 2000, like this year. So yeah, it's very nice. I already did this with 3 groups, and I really love doing this. So scan it, and then I'm going to the next slide, because I think it's time for Q&A.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to
Hear me?
stop the
Daphne,
recording.
Yes. Okay. There were some questions in the chat already.